The media of Azerbaijan refers to mass media outlets based in the Republic of Azerbaijan. Television, magazines, and newspapers are all operated by both state-owned and for-profit corporations which depend on advertising, subscription, and other sales-related revenues. The Constitution of Azerbaijan guarantees freedom of speech, but this is denied in practice. After several years of decline in press and media freedom, in 2014 the media environment in Azerbaijan deteriorated fast under a governmental campaign to silence any opposition and criticism, even while the country led the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe. Spurious legal charges and impunity in violence against journalists have remained the norm. All foreign broadcasts are banned in the country. History. The process of democratization of the Soviet Union started with the policy of glasnost, meaning openness or freedom of speech. Legislative framework. The legislative framework on freedom of speech and access to information include the Constitution of Azerbaijan, the mass media law, and the law on the right to obtain information. Yet, the rights afforded by these legislative instruments are severely restricted in practice. For instance, since 2009 journalists are not allowed to film or photograph individuals without their consent, even at public events. The norms on access to information have been amended after 2012, following a RFERL series of reports on large-scale corruption involving the Aliyev family. The amendments allow for profit companies to withhold information on the registration, ownership and structure, thus limiting journalists' ability to uncover corruption and identify the assets of politicians and public figures. Defamation remains a criminal offense in Azerbaijan and may be punished with large fines and up to 3 years in jail. Disseminating information that damages the honor and dignity of the president is a criminal offense, punishable with up to 2 years of prison, which may rise to 5 if in conjunction with other criminal charges. This has been decried as an excessive limitation on freedom of expression by international bodies. Since 2013, defamation laws apply to online contents too. The Azerbaijan Supreme Court has suggested that the norms on defamation are amended to be brought in line with the CHR standards, but this has not happened yet. The law on grants and the law on NGOs, amended in 2014, limit the capacities of local NGOs, including media rights groups, to receive foreign funding. Other legislative measures, from hooliganism to the possession of drugs and weapons, treason, and tax evasion, are regularly used by authorities to punish and prevent critical reporting. Status and self-regulation of journalists. Most journalists in Azerbaijan can only work without employment contracts or job security, receiving only irregular wages. Critical journalists are at risk of physical attacks, judicial prosecution, political and economical pressures. Media outlets. Print and broadcast media in Azerbaijan are almost wholly under control of the ruling Aliyev family, eventually through friendly intermediaries. Ownership opacity is backed by law. Azerbaijan hosts 9 national TV stations, over 12 regional TV stations, 25 radio channels, over 30 daily newspapers. Opposition media manages to work on the perpetual brink of survival. Print media. There are 3,500 publication titles formally registered in Azerbaijan. The vast majority of them are published in Azerbaijani. The remaining 130 are published in Russian, English and other languages. Registered daily newspapers are more than 30. The most widely read are the critical Yeni Musavat and Azadlik papers. Critical newspapers remain under political, judicial and economic pressures, and have been particularly hit by the removal of QASID and QAYA distribution companies' kiosks from central Baku in 2012. In May 2014, SKopp gave up on print publications due to financial losses. Azerbaijani newspapers can be split into more serious-minded newspapers, usually referred to as broadsheets due to their large size, and sometimes known collectively as the quality press. Publishing radio broadcasting. As of 2014, Azerbaijan has 9 AM stations, 17 FM stations, and 1 shortwave station. Additionally, there are approximately 4,350,000 radios in existence. Primary network provider is the Ministry of Communications and Information Technologies of Azerbaijan. According to MCIT, the FM radio penetration rate is 97% according to 2014 data. Television broadcasting. There are 3 state-owned television channels: AZ-TV, ID-Man TV and Medeniyet TV, 1 public channel and 6 private channels: Hikmet Television, ANS-TV, Space TV, Lida TV, Azad Azerbaijan TV, Zaza TV and Region TV. Azerbaijan has a total of 47 television channels, of which 4 are public television channels and 43 are private television channels, of which 12 are national television channels and 31 regional television channels. According to the Ministry of Communications and Information Technologies of Azerbaijan, the television penetration rate is 99% according to 2014 data. The penetration rate of cable television in Azerbaijan totaled 28.1% of households in 2013. From a study by the State Statistical Committee of the Azerbaijan Republic, almost 39% of the cable television subscriber base is concentrated in major cities. The penetration rate is 59.1% in the city of Baku. From 2010 to 2014, the Institute for Reporters' Freedom and Safety produced Objective TV, an online news channel with daily coverage on freedom of expression and human rights. Cinema. The film industry in Azerbaijan dates back to 1898. In fact, Azerbaijan was among the first countries involved in cinematography. Therefore, it's not surprising that this apparatus soon showed up in Baku at the start of the 20th century. This Beitan on the Caspian was producing more than 50% of the world's supply of oil. Just like today, the oil industry attracted foreigners eager to invest and to work. In 1919, during the Azerbaijan Democratic Republic, a documentary, The Celebration of the Anniversary of Azerbaijani Independence, was filmed on Azerbaijan's Independence Day, the 28th of May, and premiered in June 1919 at several theaters in Baku. After the Soviet power was established in 1920, Nariman Narimanov, chairman of the Revolutionary Committee of Azerbaijan, signed a decree nationalizing Azerbaijan's cinema. This also influenced the creation of Azerbaijani animation. In 1991, after Azerbaijan gained its independence from the Soviet Union, the first Baku International Film Festival East-West was held in Baku. In December 2000, the former president of Azerbaijan, Heydar Aliyev, signed a decree proclaiming the 2nd of August to be the professional holiday of filmmakers of Azerbaijan. Today, Azerbaijani filmmakers are again dealing with issues similar to those faced by cinematographers prior to the establishment of the Soviet Union. In 1920, once again, both choice of content and sponsorship of films are largely left up to the initiative of the filmmaker. Telecommunications. The Azerbaijan economy has been markedly stronger in recent years and, not surprisingly, the country has been making progress in developing ICT sector. Nonetheless, it still faces problems. These include poor infrastructure and an immature telecom regulatory regime. The Ministry of Communications and Information Technologies of Azerbaijan, as well as being an operator through its role in Aztelecom, is both a policymaker and regulator. Internet. 61% of the population of Azerbaijan had access to Internet in 2014, although this is mainly concentrated in Baku and other cities. Social networks as Facebook and Twitter are common and are used to share independent information and point of views. Media organizations, media agencies, the Law on Grants and the Law on NGOs, amended in 2014, limit the capacities of local NGOs, including media rights groups, to receive foreign funding. Azerbaijan's main media watchdogs were the Institute for Reporters' Freedom and Safety and the Media Rights Institute. They both ceased operations in August 2014, after being forcefully evicted from the premises by police forces. This was the latest action in a series of harassing moves by the Azerbaijani authorities, starting from the freeze of bank accounts up to allegations of unpaid taxes, fines, and criminal charges. From 2010 to 2014, the Institute for Reporters' Freedom and Safety produced Objective TV, an online news channel with daily coverage on freedom of expression and human rights. The International Research and Exchanges Board, an international NGO working to reinforce independent media in Azerbaijan, ceased operations in September 2014 after its premises were raided, its equipment seized and its bank accounts frozen by the authorities. Trade unions, regulatory authorities. The National Television and Radio Council is the media regulator of Azerbaijan. Its 9 members are appointed by the government, without limited terms. The NTRC has been criticized for an opaque licensing process, biased in favor of state-owned broadcasters. Since 2009, the BBC, RFE/RL, and Voice of America are off-air in Azerbaijan, since NTRC banned foreign broadcasters. In 2012, all foreign television shows were banned. Censorship and media freedom. Despite the existence of independent news outlets, journalists who criticize the government are often severely harassed, imprisoned, and even physically assaulted. In the 2013-14 Press Freedom Index published by Reporters Without Borders, Azerbaijan ranked 160th out of an overall total of 180 nations. Azerbaijan is ranked not free by Freedom House in its annual Freedom of the Press survey with a score of 79 out of 100. The 3 broadcasting stations BBC, Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty and Voice of America, which were the only ones that ensured political pluralism for its citizens, are banned in Azerbaijan since 2009. The authorities use a range of measures to restrict freedom of the media within the country. Opposition and independent media outlets and journalists have their access to print houses and distribution networks limited, or can find themselves facing defamation charges and crippling fines and are subject to intimidation tactics, including imprisonment on fabricated charges. Azerbaijan has the biggest number of journalists imprisoned in Europe and Central Asia in 2015, according to the Committee to Protect Journalists, and is the 5th most censored country in the world, ahead of Iran and China. Most Azerbaijanis receive their information from mainstream television, which is unswervingly pro-government and under strict government control. According to a 2012 report of the NGO Institute for Reporters' Freedom and Safety, Azerbaijani citizens are unable to access objective and reliable news on human rights issues relevant to Azerbaijan, and the population is underinformed about matters of public interest. During the last few years, 3 journalists were killed and several prosecuted in trials described as unfair by international human rights organizations. Reporters Without Borders has called on the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe to firmly condemn Azerbaijan for tolerating escalating press freedom violations. Activists such as Sing for Democracy and Amnesty International brought up the issues of Azerbaijan's rights as it hosted the 2012 Eurovision Song Contest. After the song Running Scared by duet Elle and Nikki won the 2011 contest, the issues included harassment of journalists, and the organizations met with the EBU on the 1st of May 2012 to discuss the problems.